Hey guys, Captain Will here. Welcome to the first in a series of tutorials we're putting out on our YouTube channel. These are going to be a range of different fly tying videos covering the majority of the flies we tend to fish down here in southern Quintana Roo. Most of the flies that I tie are relatively simple. My philosophy being I'd rather spend less time tying, more time fishing. So let's get going. So the fly we're going to be tying today is our take on a kind of a mix between a dragon tail and a tarpon snake fly. These flies are super effective. A bit tricky to cast, but once you get the hang of it, they're not too much trouble. We tend to fish these flies down here in our Costa fishery in the bay. So that comprises mostly of deeper water fishing, dropping down sinking lines and fishing for big tarpon. They're also super effective in the rivers we have down here. We kind of swing the flies like you would do for steelhead, but mostly sinking line work. Occasionally, they can be really effective on the floating line if you have, for example, this sort of time of year, we have a lot of migratory fish coming in, kind of moving north from Belize, kind of floating into the bay. Those fish are pretty green. They're really fired up. So a nice big fly, something that very easy for me to see on the back on the polling platform, is the perfect thing to show these fish. They'll come and hammer it. So to give you an idea of what we're going to be tying, this is kind of the baby brother of the tarpon snake fly that we tend to tie. This one, I believe it's on a Gamakatsu SL12 2.0, a little bit smaller. This is the basic principle, pretty quick. I mean, there's not many materials to it, but we're going to be tying its bigger brother, so we switch a few materials out. I would show you the fly we're going to be tying, but I don't have any. We're going to do it in a black and purple colorway. So one of the reasons for doing this video is to crank a few out for my own fishing. So let's get going. Right, so on with the tying of the fly. You've just seen the materials list on the previous slides. I should give you an idea of everything we're using. Again, just to show you, we're going to be tying the bigger version of this fly. Let's show you a bit more focus there. The only difference being really, we're going to switch out the marabou. This one has a mixture of tan and white marabou. We're switching that out because we're tying a bigger fly. And we're going to be using some of the sort of the EP, I believe it's a craft fur brush, just a little bit longer. It's 3 inches. It's a 3-inch long brush, so there's a bit more material to work with. To show you the difference in hooks, you can really tie this on any size hook that you want to. You've got to, especially with tarpon, there's kind of a trade-off. You can tie on a big hook, but the thicker the actual diameter of the hook, the harder it is to penetrate, and especially with a fish with such hard bony mouths, you kind of want to be careful of your hook choice. So for those small guys, I tie it on the SL12. That's the size 2. Show you the packet here. That's that guy. For these big guys, for these bigger flies, I tend to. Well, my only real choice is either the Gamakatsu, the SC15 2H, and a 3.0. So that's this guy here. You can see it on the packaging. Really nice hook, big gap on it, very strong. Nothing's going to open that out. The fish those hooks for jeets, so they should do the business. The other option, the more expensive option, is the Tiemco 600 SP 4.0, which is this guy. This is kind of my favorite hook. I mean, it has this sort of spade point type design. I'll show you on the front. It has this spade point style design. Very sharp, very strong, huge gap on it. I like the black nickel finish. So it's the last one I have. So let's go ahead and use the packet up and sling this one up. So to start with, as with any fly, get the hook in the vise. Turn that guy up. Okay. So ordinarily I would use black or purple thread. I'm out of purple thread right now, so my option will be black. But because we're doing a video, it's pretty tricky to see. So I'm going to tie it with orange thread. Just it's a lot easier for you guys to see. And then on the head, I'll go back over with black, so nobody really notices the difference. So to start with, we're going to take the thread. We're going to kind of start about halfway up. This fly, you don't need to use the whole hook shank. There's too much bulk. I tend to finish the fly around halfway, a little bit past halfway. So I'm using the the kind of halfway is a marker, so I know kind of roughly where my fly is going to finish, keep things consistent. So I'll jump in around halfway, make a bit of thread wraps. Oh, so I'll take that back. Okay, a couple of thread wraps, secure it in, jump back to the tail of the fly. This is a fly that really doesn't need finesse. I mean, it's more kind of lashing than fly tying. I'm not tying a, kind of parachute Adams or something. So take that back up in there, chop off the end of it. Take it back a little bit, a little bit past where the barb is. I'm just going to build up a little bit of a kind of a thread base here, because that's where we're going to attach the anti-foul guard for the tail. Pretty crucial step. So just build that up a little bit just so we got something to tie on to. Right, so for the anti-foul guard, piece of mono is all you need. This is 16-pound Mason hard mono. I like the 16-pound stuff. It's just a little bit easier to work with. You can buy a spool of 16 that lasts forever. That's all your weed guards for your bonefish, permit fly, especially down here. We have a lot of coral if we're kind of fishing around Mahawal, doing some of the wade fishing. Out in the bay, we have a little bit more sort of kind of a mix of kind of corally, rocky bottom. So it's always good to have a weed guard. Takes 5 seconds, tie it in. You can trim it off if you don't need it, but it's easy to put it in. So 16 Masons, you can use 25, 30 pound. It's, whichever works. With the 16, I double it over. So what I'm going to do is tie it in little ways kind of past where the shank curves. So you can see kind of the shank curves. So I'm going to tie it in here. So it's just an extension of the hook shank basically off the back. These flies do foul. You got to kind of slow down your casting, throw a slightly wider, more open loop. That's a really good way of stopping that fly foul, but they do foul occasionally. So adding this in, all it can do is help. So I'm going to start by matching the two ends. I already kind of fold over and clamp the end there and the pliers. So I need to worry about that. I'm going to start by taking the two ends, tying them on my side, lining them up on the side, lashing them down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to fold them over, making sure that it's one over the other, if that makes sense. Keeping things nice and neat. And you want it roughly, let me just catch this in. Loosely catch this side in here so we have more something to work with. Right. I want it roughly about that sort of length, and pull it down a little bit. About that sort of length. So it's an extension of the hook shank is all it is. I've used, again, a double over because I'm using 16-pound Masons. If I had 25, 30, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. It doesn't really make much difference. So I'm going to lash that down a bit more to make sure it looks fairly neat. Yeah, all good. Okay, trim off your excess. Put down there. And then we're going to go behind the Mason. Just going to come up, basically adding a little bit of a hump back here to butt up against the mono. And that just helps to stop it from sort of bending down flat and not working as we want it to work. So put that in there. Okay, good. Clean up those ends. Okay, that's looking good. Now, like I said, this is mostly sort of a lashing as opposed to a sort of intricate fly tying of a fly. So you can use a bit more thread. And I put a little dab of glue on it. So a little bit of super glue just to secure it. When you're fishing for tarpon, these guys, if you hook up to something big, you got that fly kind of running around in its mouth is very abrasive. You want to just lock everything down so that there's no chance of, anything pulling out, fly damage, and you might get 2 or 3 fish out of it. So just add a little bit of thread over the top, let that glue cure. Okay, so the first step done, arguably the most difficult. Now it's time for the sort of real creation of fly. So we're taking the dragon tail. I think this is the large size. I'm not sure how long it is, kind of 6-8 inches, something like that. So first step, most important step, is that the end that you're not tying in, so you see this natural taper, this end, we're going to burn it, just melts the fibers and then stick a bit of glue on it. That helps give longevity to the fly. It's not going to unravel, so check my lens. Right, burn that down a little bit. Make sure we don't set the smoke alarm off. Okay, and only a little bit, just burn a couple of mils, and then coat it with super glue. Probably could just coat it with super glue, to be honest, but best to be doubly safe. Okay, nice. There we go. Stick that to my finger in the process. So now what we're going to do is we don't need all of this. This is a a hell of a long dragon tail. So we're going to take a little bit of it off, a little bit of the bulk off. We probably want about 6 inches or so. When it feels comfortable, so to about there. Okay. I'm going to cut this just up from where we want it. Pull off the little purple fibers here. There's some kids running around outside. Right, pull off a bit of that. Okay, there we go. Like so, I'm going to tie this in. So that should have given us enough time for the glue to pretty much set. Just come back down to the bottom here. Couple of loose turns in there and pull down. So you want to tie this so that it butts up fairly nice and snug with the anti-foul guard. It's just going to help ensure that anti-foul guard does what it's supposed to. Okay, again, we're just going to lash this sucker down. Trim that up there. Cover it all down. Like so. Nice. Nicely covered. Okay. I'm going to put another little bit of super glue on it and then that's done. So you can kind of see how that foul guard works. I mean, with a tail this long, you're always prone to fouling. Like I say, it's just a little deterrent, but kind of throwing a more open, wide loop, less false cast is the best way to throw these guys and successfully have them presented properly every time. So a little bit of super glue over the back of this guy, just aiding in longevity. Like that. Okay, that's basically the finished article. You can fish this as it is; it's still going to work. If you tied this kind of with a black thread, just wanted to stick a purple tail on, fish will eat that. Tarpon will eat that, especially when you're throwing letting the fly sink down in deeper water. It's already pretty dark; they're going to eat that. It's not an issue. So we're just going to fancy this guy up, just make him look a little bit fancy. So to do that, we're going to basically add a little veil. So this all it does is adds movement. When you have that kind of dark silhouette coming through either in deep water or some of the sort of more tea-colored rivers that we have here, just that added movement is a great quality to have. So we're gonna add into this, keep that kind of black and purple color scheme going. This is the Enrico Puglisi Craft Fur 3-inch wide. You see that there in the black and purple color scheme. It should come through there. Okay. That's the black and purple color scheme. Really nice material to work with. You'll see as we work the fly through, we're going to put fairly close touching turns and then brush it out. All the bolts going to be at the back of the fly. This is just a veil to sort of cover it. So, and then we're pretty much there. So, tie this guy in. We'll take out a little bit of that metal on the front. Use your board scissors to do that. Point in blunting them. Come back in here, tie this guy in fairly close to the tail. Back down. We're going to run it up to about where the thread ends, so that's a third of the shank or so. Okay, so we should use about half a brush here. So I'm going to start by stroking all the fibers back. You can see these fibers, it's craft fur, so it's such great movement. It pulses in the water. So we're just going to start by palmering this material up, stroking back as we go. Try not to catch any fibers. If you do catch any fibers, it's an occupational hazard of this type of material. It's okay, we're going to brush it out anyway, so shouldn't be an issue. But if we can avoid trapping any in the beginning, it makes the process a lot easier at the end. So keep palmering, fairly close touching turns as we go up the hook shank. Okay. And this is just a little bit more durable than marabou as well. A little bit longer. Marabou, you could also use marabou on this, but when you palmer in marabou, it just doesn't come out quite the same in terms of length. It gets very bulky very quickly. So great for those smaller flies, but for these big guys, it's just easy to use a brush. We'll keep going up, kind of getting on to halfway through the brush here. Couple more turns, and that should be done. Alright, and about there. Okay. Turn back. Separate these fibers out so we're not trapping any unnecessarily. There we go. Tighten that down, use your old pair of scissors. Trimmed. There we go. So that's half a brush. You're gonna get 2 flies out of a brush there. So next thing to do is stroke all the fibers back. Come in here. I tend to just kind of point this bit of sharp stainless steel down with my nail just so I don't cut the thread. One of the downsides of working with brushes. Okay, just cover that up. Now, I did trap a few fibers in here, so 2 ways of doing it. Take a bodkin, just kind of come in and brush these fibers out a little bit, any of these trapped fibers. As you'll see, we've not only added a lot of movement here, but we've also added a little bit of bulk, which is always nice. Pushing a little bit more water, which the fish really respond to. So brushing out a little bit of that, and then I have this other tool up in here. It's EP finger brush, which really gets everything out. So I'll go through the EP finger brush. And under here as well. Okay, beautiful. Again, if you really want to, you can leave that fly as is. That fly is going to be perfectly effective without this final step. Again, we're just kind of adding some pizzazz to the fly. So last step, keeping in with the black and purple color scheme, we're going to take some EP. This is minnow head, 1.5 inch. A lot of flash in there. It's going to add bulk as well as flash. This particular color, it's the misty purple color. Great stuff. I mean, these, both the minnow head brush and the craft fur brush I use in a lot of different flies. I use this as the head for a lot of my tarpon bunnies, for example, in different colors. So, new pack, so let's crack this sucker open. Pull on the brush. Okay. So you can already see how shiny that is if that catches the light. In the deeper water, that's just what you want. There's not some, when you kind of drop in a tarpon fly down 30, 40 feet, not a lot of water, a lot of light coming through down there. And you're mostly just kind of working with the silhouette of the fly, but a bit of flash is never an issue. So again, trim off the end so we've got a nice little bit to work with. Tie that in fairly loosely around the edge so we don't cut our thread. So put that up against the first brush. Okay, I'm going to work this brush, just this last sort of kind of quarter of the hook shank. So we're probably going to end a little bit past halfway. So same as before, you're going to stroke this brush back. Although there's less kind of length to it, it's more building bulk and pushing water. Still, you don't want to trap any fiber. So touching turns, back we go, stroking everything back as we go. And so this is the black and purple color scheme, but tan and white's a great color. Chartreuse and yellow's a great color. All tan and all white, those two on their own are great colors. Or just black, straight up black is a great color as well. So variety of different colors you can do this in. Black and red again, so many different options. So the best thing to do is experiment. Whatever works best for you, the type of water that you have. We're fortunate we have a lot of clear water here. Well, we have a mashup. We have very clear water. We also have some sort of tea-stained water in the rivers where the tarpon like to live. And then we also have some really cool kind of deep water fishing, as I mentioned. So you can mash it up with a bunch of different color styles, whatever works. So we're about halfway there. It's about right. A little bit over a third of a brush. So keep it tight. Run the thread up. Catch the brush, pull everything back. Same process again, pull everything back. You don't want to catch any fibers forward, it just makes the fly look, I'm just being pedantic, but it makes the fly look a bit messy. So, no, pull everything back again. Try and avoid capturing any of these fibers, which I inadvertently have captured. Couple of turns, spin it, use your old scissors, trim that flush. Okay, there we go. It's pretty much the finished article. A couple of thread wraps over it. Take my finger brush again, come through, blend that brush up with the other brush and pull out any fibers that have been trapped. Like so. Beautiful. So there we go. That's the finished article. I'm just going to neaten it up on the head a little bit on my side. Okay, throw a whip finish in there. And that's your finished fly. So you have in keeping with the color scheme, you've got this bit of flash on the front, which kind of puffs out a bit, but going through the water is going to fine down a little bit. It's going to push water. It's really nice. We've done a couple of swim tests with this, and when you have water going over it, this fines down really nicely and blends beautifully with the craft fur brush. So you have that flash and that movement along with the movement of the dragon tail. So go ahead and throw a whip finish in here. After this video, I'm going to cover this over with black thread, just to sort of be in keeping with the colorway. Even you could leave it as orange, but it makes much difference. I don't think so. Or a chartreuse sort of style color as well would also work. A little bit too much space for my small little whip finish tool. Okay. Go pull that down. Nice and tight, break it off. There we go. Okay guys, so that's the finished article right there. Show you it here. You can see I just whipped it back over the black thread to complete it. The whole fly is around 7-8 inches long in total. Give you an idea of the front profile as well. Got a nice big head. It's gonna fine down a little bit in the water, but the beauty is gonna push plenty of water, so it's a huge trigger for fish. They can sense that sort of vibrations coming through. Also, having the big bulky head that's pushing water is gonna help give that tail extra action. So that's the finished fly. Like I say, it's in our sort of version of black and purple color scheme. You could add a bunch of different things to this if you wanted to customize it a bit. So you could throw a bit of black Sharpie on the tail, bar it up a little bit. You could throw some eyes on the front here. Whatever you want to do, change the color scheme, black and red, tan, all black, all white, anything. that you think works. You can change this to fish a variety of species, jacks, snook, cobia, whatever you want to do. So that's our version. That's what we have the most success with. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and took some good information from it. If you want to see more about what we're doing, then feel free to head up to our Facebook page, that's flyfishcostamaya.com, or our fly shop page, which is ffcmoutfitters.com. There you can find a bit more information about ourselves, some more content we put out there, photos and different videos and whatnot. Like I mentioned, this is the first in a series of fly tying videos. We're also going to put out some more how-to style videos, a bit more fishing content. So there'll be a variety of things for you to enjoy. And we'll try and do that weekly, hopefully a little more frequently than that. So yeah, please feel free to like and subscribe. That help us kind of grow some followers there so we can put more content out for you. I'll leave a link at the end of the video in the description as well to our website, so you can go on there as well and check out a bit more about ourselves, some more content, articles, blogs, and different things. As I say, we're based in southern Quintana Roo in Mexico, around the Chetumal Bay area. So if you're also looking at doing some fishing with us, that's the best place to go to our website and find more information. Get in contact with us there. But if you have any questions with regards to, say, Ascension Bay, Espiritu Santo Bay, anywhere kind of in this area fishing, just some information, or if you're looking to buy some flies or gear for your trip, then feel free to drop us a message. We can help you out. Yeah, so I'll leave it off there and hope to catch you next time.